What if everything you thought was safe disappeared in a single second? One moment, life was normal plans, dreams, people you loved. The next, silence. Chaos. Impact. They said no one was supposed to survive this crash. Not the experts. Not the headlines. Not even the laws of physics. But this isn't just a story about metal and fire. It's about that split second we all know, the moment when time slows down and you realize how fragile life really is. The moment when you think about your family, your regrets, the things you said you'd do tomorrow. Because deep down, we've all been there, driving too fast, trusting the routine, believing it won't happen to me. This crash changed everything. And the truth behind it will make you question how close you've come to losing it all. The sound of the crash didn't just break glass. It broke time. In those seconds, memories rushed in faster than fear. Faces you love. Words you never said. Promises you thought you had more time to keep. Breathing felt optional. Hope felt impossible. Pain didn't scream, it whispered. This is how it ends. Rescue crews would later say the same thing. No pulse. No chance. No survivors. But inside the wreckage, something refused to let go. Not strength. Not luck. Will. The kind of will you don't know you have. Until everything else is taken away. This wasn't a miracle you see in movies. It was messy. It was terrifying. It was human. And if you think this couldn't be you, one wrong turn, one distracted second, one ordinary day, then you're closer to this story than you realize. Because survival doesn't start after the crash. It starts in the moments we take for granted. And what happened next rewrote everything they thought they knew about survival. The sound of the crash didn't just break glass. It broke time. 1 second, there was movement, noise, life. The next, everything folded in on itself. Metal screamed like it was alive. The air disappeared from the lungs. And the world went quiet in a way that felt permanent. In that silence, the mind did something strange. It didn't panic. It remembered. A laugh from years ago. A face seen this morning. A promise made and never kept. Not dramatic memories. Ordinary ones. The kind you don't realize matter. Until they're all you have left. Breathing became a question instead of a reflex. Every inhale burned. Every exhale felt like it might be the last one. Pain didn't arrive all at once. It crept in slowly, carefully, like it didn't want to scare away the little strength that remained. And somewhere in the chaos, a thought surfaced, clear, calm, terrifying. This is how people disappear. No goodbye, no warning, just an empty seat where a life used to be. Outside the wreckage, the world kept moving. Cars passed. Wind blew. Someone checked the time without knowing why their chest suddenly felt tight. Minutes later, sirens cut through the air. Too loud, too late. First responders arrived, already preparing themselves for what they expected to find. They'd seen crashes like this before. They knew the math. They knew the odds. And the odds said no one survives this. The damage told a story they'd read too many times. Crumpled steel, shattered glass, space where space shouldn't exist. One of them quietly shook their head. Another exhaled and looked away. This wasn't a rescue. It was a recovery. Inside the wreckage, time didn't move forward. It hovered. The body was trapped, twisted. Every attempt to move was met with pain sharp enough to steal thought. And yet, there was awareness. Not strength. Not courage. Just awareness. The kind that makes you notice how loud your heartbeat sounds when everything else goes quiet. The kind that makes you realize how badly you want to live. Not in a big, heroic way, but in a small, desperate one. Please. Not spoken out loud. Just felt. Every second stretched longer than the last. Fear tried to take control, but something stronger pushed back. Not hope. Stubbornness. The refusal to let this moment be the last chapter. First responders finally leaned in closer. A flashlight beam cut through the dark. Someone froze. Wait, a voice said. Not loud, not confident, just surprised. A hand moved. Barely. A breath, shallow, uneven, but real. In a situation where silence was expected, Life made noise. Everything changed. Suddenly, it wasn't about protocol. It was about urgency. Tools came out. Voices sharpened. Movements became faster, rougher, but careful in the way only people who care can be. Inside the wreckage, awareness flickered. Voices blurred together. Pain spiked, then faded, then came back worse. But there was something new now. Direction. A reason to hold on for just one more second. As they worked, doubt lingered in the air. Even if they got the body out, even if a heartbeat stayed, the injuries were catastrophic. The human body isn't designed to survive forces like this. And yet, it was trying. Every inch freed felt like a mile. Every delay felt dangerous. Blood, sweat, dirt, hands shaking, not from fear, but from the weight of knowing how thin the line was. When the body was finally pulled free, no one celebrated. They'd learned not to. They'd seen survival turn into silence too many times. In the ambulance, machines beeped like reminders. Time was still running. Eyes opened briefly. Not focused, but searching. A name was spoken. A reaction small, but undeniable. Outside, the road was blocked. Strangers stood watching, not knowing why their throats felt tight. Someone whispered, "I didn't think anyone was alive in there." They weren't wrong. In the hospital, the lights were harsh and unforgiving. Doctors moved quickly, efficiently, their faces unreadable in the way that comes from experience. Words like critical, unstable, unlikely floated through the air. Family was called. Voices cracked on the phone. Silences stretched too long between sentences. The waiting room became a place where time lost meaning. Minutes felt like hours. Hours disappeared completely. Somewhere between machines and medicine, the body fought, not gracefully, not bravely, just honestly. Organs struggled. Bones protested. Pain came and went like waves. And still, the heart kept beating. Doctors would later say they couldn't explain it, that injuries like these don't align with outcomes like this. But explanations didn't matter. Survival doesn't follow logic. It follows moments. Tiny decisions. Split seconds. The refusal to give up when giving up feels easier. When consciousness finally returned for more than a moment, the world looked different. Smaller. Sharper. Life no longer felt guaranteed. It felt borrowed. Every sound was louder. Every face mattered more. Recovery wasn't a straight line. It was setbacks and progress tangled together. Some days felt hopeful. Others felt cruel. Pain became familiar. So did gratitude. The crash didn't just leave scars on the body. It rewired the way life was seen. Moments once rushed through now demanded attention. Ordinary days felt heavier with meaning. And the thought that returned most often wasn't about fear. It was about closeness. How near the ending had been. How quietly it almost arrived. They said no one was supposed to survive that crash. And statistically, they were right. But statistics don't account for will, for timing, for the human instinct to cling to life even when everything says let go. This story isn't about luck. It's about how fragile everything really is. How close we all are every day to a moment that changes everything. And how survival isn't always loud or heroic. Sometimes, it's just a quiet decision made in the dark. Not yet. They said no one was supposed to survive that crash. And maybe that's true, but survival isn't always about strength. Sometimes it's about holding on when there's nothing left to hold. This wasn't just a second chance. It was a reminder. A reminder that life doesn't warn you before it changes. That the moments we rush through are the ones we miss the most. That every goodbye we skip might matter more than we think. Someone walked away from what should have been the end. Not because they were ready, but because they refused to be done. So if you're watching this thinking, that could never be me, remember every story like this starts on an ordinary day. Take the call. Slow down. Tell the people you love what they mean to you, because tomorrow isn't promised. And sometimes survival is a story meant to wake us up.